with more than 7,000 islands consisting of rice paddies, volcanoes and megacities, and endemic wildlife. The Philippines is one of the most dazzling and diverse countries in all of Asia. Not to mention it's home to some of the world's best beaches. The archipelago of the Philippines is really a sight to see, from the small to the largest. And with this rich diversity comes also a plethora of its own myths, legends, and folktales. And on this video, we will take a look at some of the cryptids of this wonderful archipelago. Join us as we list down some of the Philippines' well-known myths and legends. Starting the list is an underrated legend of the Philippines from the Visayan Islands. The Bakunawa is a serpentine-like dragon according to the most retelling of the legend, and the Bakunawa is no lightweight of a contender, as it is monstrous in size, where it dwarfs everything from the hills to the mountains, and with the jaws that are enough to swallow the moon. But on some accounts, the Bakunawa appears as a giant sea serpent, with a mouth the size of a lake, with two sets of wings for it to fly and devour the moon. The myth of the Bakunawa says that during the ancient times, there were 7 moons created by Bathala. In the ancient Philippines, eclipses were still not known as a natural event, and it was believed that the Bakunawa causes this phenomenon, as it devours the 7 moons one by one. It is said that the Bakunawa is amazed by the beauty of the moons, and would like to keep it for himself. Thus, it would rise from the ocean and swallow the moons whole, angering Bathala and causing them to be mortal enemies. A famous tale about the Bakunawa: when there was only 1 moon left, the ancient Filipinos would go out of their homes with pans and pots and would make loud noises in order to drive away the Bakunawa and prevent the last moon from being swallowed, while some of the town folks would play soothing sounds with the musical instruments in high hopes that the dragon would fall into a deep slumber. Minukawa. Coming at 7th from the Bagao tribes of the Mindanao Islands is the Minukawa. Whereas the Bakunawa was a serpentine dragon enough to swallow the moon, the Minukawa is a giant dragon-like bird that swallows the sun and the moon. The Minukawa is believed to have beaks of steel and claws of steel too. According to the Bagobo tales, the Minukawa needs to open its mouth in order to hear. The eyes of the Minukawa are said to be like mirrors, and each single feather of the Minukawa is sharp as a sword. The Minukawa, on modern adaptations, looks like a phoenix. Like the Bakunawa, the Minukawa is also believed to be the causes of eclipses. It is believed that the Minukawa covers the sun with its wings before it devours the sun. It would also devour the moon. The Minukawa is also described to live beyond the skies and beyond the earth. Now the tale of the Minukawa. During these ancient times, the moon was not stationary, but rather moves. The moon makes 8 holes in the eastern horizon to come out of, and 8 holes in the western horizon to go into. Just when she is about to come in through one of the holes in the east to shine on the islands again, the Minukawa would swiftly swallow the moon, causing the eclipse. Once the Minukawa has swallowed the moon, it would also swallow the sun. Because of this, the Bagobo tribes would scream and cry, beat gongs, make loud noises, because they fear that they will all be swallowed by the Minukawa. The commotion from the people attracts the Minukawa, causing it to look down, wanting to know what the ruckus is about. Once it opens its mouth in order to hear, that is when the sun and the moon will spring out and escape, causing the entire cycle to start all over again. The Capra is another popular mythological creature from the Philippines. It is characterized as a phenomenally tall, menacing creature that sits atop a big tree. The Capra displays humanoid features, but is hairy with thick beard, brown skin, and deep sets of eyes, that makes them look menacing. Copra is usually depicted as sitting on a large tree trunk, smoking tobaccos. The smoke from the tobacco entices humans, though the term copra is said to believe to have come from the Arabic word kafir, meaning a non-believer in Islam. The early Arabs and the Moors used it to refer to those non-Muslim Indians who were dark-skinned. The legend of the copper lingers on and is still very much alive, infused in the consciousness of the Filipinos. Scores of people from the countryside have reported sightings of a mysterious creature atop a big tree, usually on acacia trees, nara, and baleta trees. Sometimes the copper can also be seen sitting under those trees. Copras are also believed to be only wearing a loincloth underwear or a bahag. Typical cases have the copper sporting a belt, which the elders believe gives the copper magical powers that is supposed to make them invisible to the human eyes. Unlike other Philippine mythological creatures, the copras are not entirely described as pure evil. The copra is believed to develop fascination with human beings and had them reaching out to humans with the intention of offering a sincere kind of friendship. In some cases, copras are found to develop being attracted and smitten to a woman. Some local healers offer food, tobacco, and alcohol to befriend copras to help them treat people that are being burdened. The thick balang. On Western tales, we have the centaurs. The Philippines has one too. It is said to be a creature that dwells in the forests and mountains of the Philippines. The thick balang is a bizarre trickster spirit that haunts certain places in the wildlands of the country. It is said to be a tall humanoid creature that dwells in the forests and mountains of the Philippines and often described as a reverse form of a centaur. While the centaur has a body of a horse and a torso and head of a man, the thick balang has the head of a horse and a body of a human. The descriptions of the thick balang vary. They are generally described as being tall and bony creatures with limbs that tend to be disproportionate to their body. Some examples, because its legs are so long and skinny, when the creature squats down, its knees are higher than its head. It is usually said to have animal-like feet, usually similar to horse hooves. But one thing is certain, the thick balangs are very strong enough to fell a tree with one kick. In some traditions, when an aborted human fetus that was held in limbo is said to be believed to be sent back on earth as a thick balang. Being a trickster, the thick balang would also scare travelers, lead them astray, and play tricks on them, such as making them walk in circles and return from the starting point, no matter how far they go or turn. The locals believe that in order to counter the thick balang's charm is to wear your clothes inside out. Another countermeasure is to ask permission out loud to pass by or not to produce too much noise while in the woods in order to not offend or disturb the thick balang. A belief of the Tagbanwas or the Tagalogs of the Rizal provinces is that the thick balangs are benevolent guardians of the elemental kingdoms. They are usually found standing atop of any large trees, looking around for anyone who dares to bestow malignancy on their kingdom's territory. 4. Sigbin. The Sigbin is a creature from the Visayan lore and is said to be a companion of the Aswang. A nocturnal creature, the Sigbin bites the shadow of its victim, usually children, in the neck area to mystically drain their blood. In order for a victim to survive the creature's attack, they should be treated with a special herb that would come from an albulario. This creature causes illnesses and can kill with their bite. The Sigbin is said to walk backwards with its head lowered between its hind legs. It resembles a hornless goat, emits a very nauseating smell, and possesses a pair of very large ears which are capable of clapping like a pair of hands. During Holy Week, it is believed that these creatures get out of their lair, which is usually a clay earthen jar or a tapayan, looking for children that it will kill for their heart, which is made into an amulet. It is also believed that there are families known as Sigbinan, or those who own Sigbin. The Sigbinans are given huge wealth by the Sigbins as they can command the Sigbins. The descriptions of the Sigbins also vary. Some say that the Sigbins also have the ability to shapeshift. These creatures have the power to become invisible. The Sigbin is most visible during the last phases of the moon. However, applying the tears of a dog to your eyes will let you see a Sigbin for what it is. Although a Sigbin cannot be drowned, once it has been slain, it must be burned down to the very last hair, or its master may bring it back to life. Far less frightening but more mischievous than the cryptids earlier are the duendes. In Filipino culture, these creatures are described as goblins, elves, or dwarves, short of stature and often old and shriveled, with beards and hats of varying colors. The name duende comes from the Spanish duende for owner of the house, but are also sometimes called as Nuno Sapunso, meaning old man of the mound. In more modern times, they are said to reside in homes or mounds in forests or places with many trees. The duendes have evolved into a far less frightening incarnation over many years. But there are old tales of the duendes who would steal children and eat their bowels, which would still place them on a fearsome list. These tiny creatures show themselves only to a few people, often when they seem to like. It is often told that they live in paradise full of gold. The duendes are famous for hoarding things, and it is often said that if you lost something from your house, it is possible that it may be taken by a duende. It will show up by the time you stop looking for it. Whether they use their powers for good or mischief depends on how they are treated by humans who dwell near them. The people say tabi po nuno, which means pardon me, little people. By doing this means you're giving respect to the unseen creatures in order to prevent their wrath. They get angry if a trespasser destroyed or damaged their mound. The offender will then experience pain or swelling in any part of his body. The illness cannot be cured by modern medicine. An albulario or a herbal doctor are often called to help cure the victim. Number 2. The Encantos. The Encantos are mythical environmental spirits that are said to have the ability to appear in human form. They are often associated with the spirits of the ancestors in the Philippines. Belief in their existence has likely existed for centuries and continues to this day. Encantos have many similarities to humans in that they age, although very slowly, appear to have male and female sexes, can suffer from illnesses, and even die. They are the object of many mythology for many Filipinos, often told by adults as stories. They have different appearances. Some appear to be beautiful, having blue eyes, fair complexion, and golden hair. They may, however, have unusual features such as high-bridged noses, fair skin, blonde hair, and the lack of philtrum. They have a wide range of appearances, with one common fact of a different feeling or vibe than humans. Other variants exhibit sexual dimorphism such as bagobo spirits, which are separated into female tamahaling and the male mahomanay. The female spirit is alleged to have red complexion, while the male have fair complexion. The Encantos dwellings will normally appear as natural features like large rocks or large trees, and magnificent palaces and cities. One of the most famous is the Burian city of the Samar Islands. An Encanto may choose to stay by a human's side as told by stories, where characters are usually in either a sense of trance or a deep loss of energy. The Encantos may be benevolent or malevolent, depending on how humans treat nature, and are very powerful. They hold the 5 elements of nature: earth, air, wind, and fire, as well as lightning, giving them the ability to manipulate and control any natural disasters. According to the Gabay in old stories, the Encantos frequently help humans, but are also the ones responsible for natural disaster once man abuses nature. The Encantos are commonly known for their extreme malignant effects, or an overwhelming influence of luck. Those the Encanto do not favor had become depressed, suffered from madness, or even disappeared for days or months, possibly as a result of human possession. They are also said to be capable of causing fevers and skin diseases such as boils. Their spirits also sometimes lead travelers astray in the forest, even kidnap them. This, however, is said to be avoidable by bringing an anting-anting or a gimat, a piece of magical charm or amulet that wards away evil spirits and prevents them from harming the wielder. However, if they do favor someone, they are generous and capable of bringing power and riches to that person. Shamans often try to communicate with the Encantos on holy days to obtain better healing powers from them, as well as learning how to better deal with evil spirits. The word Encanto is a bracket term for enchanted human, like beings of the land, which includes a variety of mythical races. The term itself was adopted from the Spanish, who were dumbfounded by the wide array of mythical races in the Philippines, and lazily just referred to these main races as enchanted or encanto. The most well-known of all cryptids of the Philippine archipelago is the aswang. Where most of the creatures on this list cause ailments, the aswang brings death. These creatures are often used to scare off children in order for them to obey the elders and prevent misbehaving. According to the Philippine folklore, an aswang is an evil shape-shifting creature that shares the grotesque characteristics of werewolves, vampires, and ghouls. It has no consistent image or description because its appearances varies per region. People have often characterized them based on a hearsay basis, which is why the term aswang has commonly been used as an umbrella description for most evil creatures that lurk in the night. Unlike vampires, aswangs are considered daywalkers because they are not harmed by sunlight. However, they are weakest during the day as they do not possess their superhuman strength. During daylight, aswang go incognito, taking on a human form to blend with regular townspeople, all the while consciously observing who to target next. Most of these creatures have been associated with women, particularly because of their long dark hair, which they use to cover bloodshot eyes. When the night creeps in, they shift into their predatory forms, not to be confused with their true ghoulish forms, as a large dog, wild pig, or a black cat. They will get quieter and quieter to fool their victims into thinking that they are walking further away and establish a false sense of security, waiting for their human prey to be alone before feasting on their flesh and blood. The aswans can be warded off by garlic, salt, holy water, a crucifix, a rosary, prayer, and be killed by decapitation. They will also be destroyed by getting whipped with the tail of a stingray, as the myth states. To know if a person is one, look directly into a person's eyes, and if your reflection is upside down, then you just met an aswan.